Today, we're heading Mauka to the lush landscapes of Oahu, specifically Pali Lookout and Waimea Valley. These destinations offer breathtaking natural wonders, but they also require a delicate touch and a mindful approach. Aloha and welcome to Mindful Malihini, the podcast where we explore mindful and respectful ways to engage with the beauty of Hawaii. I'm your host, Tyler Iokepa Gomes, and today we're exploring some of the beautiful landscapes of Oahu, as well as how to tread with respect when visiting these places. Let's start our journey with the breathtaking Pali Lookout. Nestled high above the windward coast, this historic site offers panoramic views of lush valleys, jagged cliffs, and the vast Pacific Ocean. But beyond its natural beauty, the Pali Lookout holds a significant place in Hawaiian history and spirituality. Our first guest is master storyteller Lopaka Kapanui. Author, actor, kumuhula, cultural practitioner, husband, father, and grandpa, sometimes known as the Ghost Guy, Lopaka makes a business of leading guests into some of the darkest, spookiest places on the island of Oahu. Today, Lopaka will tell us about the Pali Lookout. Lopaka, what does Pali mean in Hawaiian, and what are some of the mo'olelo about this place?
It's interesting that you asked that question, because the word Pali means cliff or precipice. And in ancient times, the goddess Keaomelemele was at the precipice or the Pali of her teachings of Oli and Hula in this area. At one point, Keaomelemele offered an Oli to the place, and the mountains and the cliffs fell away and gave us what we have today, the Pali Lookout. Where we're standing now is the site of the famous Battle of Nu'uanu, Kamehameha's conquest to finally unite the island under one rule. Also called Kalelea Ka'anai, the leaping of the anai fish, because of all of the bodies, the people who were either thrown from the Pali or jumped on their own. Many lives were lost here. And so the mana, the trauma of that event is imbued into the very soil, the very air that we're breathing, which makes it not only historically significant, but kapu to our people. The best thing for visitors to do before they arrive to this location is to do some studying. Look up the information, the history. My personal advice is to just come with respect. And if you feel like you want to leave an offering, a biodegradable lei is best, or even a song or a chant. Abahipana is a place that is vibrating with mana, with energy. The word pana is sort of like a half of a whole word, panapana. So panapana is the vibration, the energy that lives in the place, that gives it its life, its sanctity, its reverence. And so Vahipana are places like that, especially the ones where there are burials, iwi, traces of people that lived there, died there. And so because of that, we must pay reverence to Vahipana. The comment I get most of the time is that it's not my culture. Why should I care? What we should venture to say is it's not my culture. But because of that, perhaps I should do something to understand it.
Mahalo e Lopaka. While Hawaii offers abundant hiking opportunities, it's crucial to approach these environments with respect and mindfulness. Joining us to share tips on responsible trail exploration is USDA Forest Ranger Cynthia MacArthur.
I love that people are interested in being out in nature, making those connections. These are very special places. And so with that in mind, there's a few things that I like to encourage our visitors to remember. So know who's going to be with you on your hike. Know what their abilities, what their comfort levels are. Know the trail itself. There's a lot of amazing apps and websites where you can learn about the trails that you're interested in. But any app that you get, just remember that, we do have steep valleys, and often you might not even have cell coverage. So don't rely just on knowing that you have a map. There's places where you might not be able to call out for help. Make sure that you tell somebody where you're going to be and what time you're expected back. That makes it so much easier if you need to be rescued, or if you don't show up, then it's a lot easier to know where to start looking. In terms of knowing your trails, also know what the access is. We definitely do not encourage anyone to trespass to access these lands, and know what the weather's going to be like. People have a vision that Hawaii is always sunny, which it's usually very nice, but we also have opportunities for large rainstorms, for wind. Wear the right kinds of shoes. We do have loose, eroded soils. We have lots of exposed roots, things that are really easy to trip on. We have some very special plants and animals that are found nowhere else in the world. And one of our cultural keystone trees is called ohia. And ohia is very significant in hula, in our watersheds. It's the one that actually helps the rain come down into the forest that provides our drinking water for us. But what we found in recent years is that there's a fungus that is spread through a lot of different ways, and that can kill the tree very quickly. One of the ways that we have of preventing the spread of that fungus is to make sure that anything that we are taking into the forest is clean. So there's going to be boot cleaning stations with brushes. So what you want to do is, even if you don't see anything on the soles of your feet, you still want to spray them with alcohol solution and then brush anything that you can see or not see off into those areas. Those areas are contained and they're cleaned regularly. And so what that does is that just prevents you from accidentally introducing the terrible fungus into our forests. So much of the work that we're doing is to not only preserve the cultural sites that are still intact, but also to restore the forests and the water ecosystems so they can continue to be a source of cultural healing. We have a lot of medicinal plants that are used in traditional practices, plants that are used in ceremony, plants that are used for celebration. So on our trails, we will have signage that says, sacred site. And that doesn't mean, you should sneak in there and go and explore. What that means is those are really sacred spaces. In Europe, they have cathedrals. In Hawaii, we have our native forests. And those are our vahipana, our pulsing places. And so we just encourage you to be super respectful about those. It's just something that we feel very strongly about preserving and perpetuating into the future.
For more information on accessible trails, please visit the Na'alahele Trail and Access website. You can find the link for them in our episode description. Our next guest is Kimo Jenkins, Cultural Programs Coordinator at Waimea Valley, who will enlighten us on what makes this place so special.
When people come and visit us, a lot of times they don't know why they're here. And so the expectation, the surprise, the discovery of what Waimea has to offer is very important. We are very pretty. We have botanical collections, endangered Hawaiian plants. We have a cultural purpose, a cultural preservation and perpetuation. We have artisans scattered throughout the valley, and the artisans are sharing of their manao, their knowledge, meakawa, making Hawaiian war weapons. We have lei makers, there's ukulele lessons. One of our artisans makes kapa. So lots of different things to do, and being scattered throughout the valley, they'll be able to interact and engage basically every 10 minutes or so. We also have an engagement program called Ka'upuni o Waimea. Ka'upuni means to travel about in a circuit, so to travel throughout the valley. And in Ka'upuni, they'll make stops and engage with our staff, and we share Hawaiian values. Kuleana, ma'alama, makavalu, pono. What's very gratifying to us and very important is that as we share the values, we ask them to take the values home with them, because we know the values are strong, they're pa'a here in the valley. Take the values with them and let them live where they're from. So one of the really nice things about Waimea is that, for lack of a better term, we are a manicured valley. We have paved walking trails. The walk is pretty easy. It's 1 kilometer, 3/4 of a mile. You can walk it in 20 minutes, but you'd be missing everything. So the idea is to stroll through the valley, to take your time. We ask our visitors to ho'olohe, to listen to the valley. The key is to be willing to listen. And that really elevates the experience when people are coming. It's also important as guests go to other areas on the island, areas that aren't manicured, that aren't taken care of like we have here at Waimea, to be very mindful. You know, when you see a sign as a visitor, this is no trespassing, yes, that does mean you. You know, that's somebody else's place, that's somebody else's property. So be mindful of that. Leave a place better than what you found it. You know, take care of the place, ma'alama. Take care of where you're visiting and become part of the experience, not just outsider looking in. For those of us who are blessed and privileged to be caretakers and stewards of the valley, we understand that our kupuna, our ancestors, are here every day with us. We hear their voices, we feel their embrace, and it's very comforting. We want our visitors to understand that as well. It almost sounds contrite, but we often like to tell them, get past the pretty. You know, they will see the pretty within the valley. We want them to feel the mana. We want them to feel the spirit of the valley and be respectful of that spirit. Understand that they are in a wahipana, they are in a special place, and to act accordingly. You know, there's an expectation as a host that we have for our guests. And so we ask them to be a mindful visitor so that we can be a thoughtful host.
Mahalo, Kimo. Whether it's the Pali Lookout, Waimea Valley, or one of our other accessible hiking trails, we remind you to be respectful of these wahipana and practice leaving them better than how you found them. We hope your visit to our scenic wonders is inspiring and insightful. Until we meet again on our next episode of Mindful Malihini, aloha.